Today we're looking at 10 performance cars you can pick up for less than £5,000. These are not in any particular order, they're just 10 cars that I think you should take a look at. So coming in at number 1 we have the BMW 330 Ci. Now this car has that classic E46 shape. It comes with a 3 litre inline-6 engine, which is very nice. It's very similar to the M3 of course, except making a little bit less power, suspension slightly different, and you can pick up a nice, clean, tidy example for less than £4,000, so it's coming in well under budget. Next on the list we have the Nissan 350Z. Or Z if you're feeling American. This scrapes in under our budget with most examples in good condition going for £4,500, but I think that's money well spent as the car seems to maintain its value fairly well. Comes with a 3.5 litre V6 which makes an amazing sound, especially if you put an aftermarket exhaust on it. You get the classic coupe look and rear wheel drive, which is an extremely good combination. But they do handle extremely well, and you could tune them for going sideways if you really desired. One of the few downsides to this car, however, is the interior is fairly basic, but that's probably going to be a common theme with cars around these age, especially ones coming out of Japan. Another car that is definitely worth taking a look at is the Porsche Boxster. You can get the 2.7 litre for about £3,500, but I'd recommend spending the extra money to try and get the Boxster S with the 3.2 litre, as it is quite a bit quicker. If you don't mind living with the egg-shaped headlamps, then the first generation is a good choice. It's a slightly unusual design in that it has a flat 6 mounted in the boot, so your stuff is going to be going in the front. But that doesn't matter, as it means the weight distribution is extremely good and the car does handle fantastic. It's also convertible, so on those sunny days you can cruise around with the top down and the wind blowing through your hair. Next on our list we have the Mazda RX8. This car is a real bargain, as decent examples can be had for as little as £1,500. However, I'd recommend paying a little bit more to try and get a low mileage example. Once these cars reach about 70,000 miles, you're potentially looking at an engine rebuild due to the apex seals and the rotary engine. However, I wouldn't let you put this off, as an engine rebuild, while it is costly, does mean you'll have an extremely nice car for another 70,000 miles or so. And they are incredible to drive. They've got a good chassis, and if you go for the more powerful 228 bhp example, it's got a decent amount of power. It may look like it only has a 1.3, but due to the rotary design this is the equivalent of actually a 2.6 litre engine. And if you want something that's a little bit newer looking, you can splash a little bit of extra cash to get the facelifted model, which is still looking quite new and relevant even today. Next on our list we have the Alfa Romeo Brera, which was in direct competition with the RX8 when it first came out. Unlike the RX8's rotary engine, the Alfa Romeo comes with a V6. If you're only interested in the styling, you can opt for the cheaper 2.2 litre 4-cylinder, however I think the V6 really is the one you should go for. And these cars seem to be holding their value quite well, which is surprising for an Alfa Romeo, as normally they are famous for unbelievable depreciation. They look absolutely incredible, especially if you get it in the classic Alfa Romeo red, or the blue is quite nice as well. And the interiors are very clean, you get nice leather seats, they're a little bit quirky with the gauges in the middle, so I think they look good. The Integra WRX is one car that definitely deserves to be on this list. It's a little bit unusual with the 2.5 litre Boxster engine, but it does mean you get that incredible and unusual sort of chugging sound that Subarus are now famous for. Any of the generations are going to be good, but I would opt for the sort of 2005 to 2007, as I think the styling's a little bit fresher, you get a slightly nicer interior, and just being a newer car hopefully should be a little bit more reliable. With its rally pedigree and symmetrical all-wheel drive system, this car is going to be quick on almost any surface, whether it be asphalt, gravel or snow. It does of course suffer from the same sorts of issues as the 350Z, in that the interior is going to be quite basic and you'll have lots of hard plastic and just generally is not the best place to be sat. However, that doesn't really matter when you're in a car with this much power that handles this well, you're really not going to notice. If the WRX is a little garish for you, however, then take a look at the Mazda 6 MPS. It follows a similar design with 4-wheel drive and a 4-cylinder turbo, except instead of being a Boxster engine, you just get a conventional 4-cylinder. The 4-wheel drive is also a little different in the way it works, in that instead of being symmetrical, Most of the time it's a front wheel drive car, except when the rear loses traction and then the car will send up to 50% of the power to the rear wheels. Along with its slightly more understated looks, however, you do get a nicer interior. The car generally feels a little bit newer and it's just a nicer place to be sat, I feel. If you pick up an early example, however, be sure to change the fuel pump, otherwise under long periods of acceleration you'll start to notice fuel starvation in the engine. If you prefer the hatchback shape over the saloon, then take a look at the Mazda 3 MPS, as it has the same engine. However, it is front wheel drive only. If all these cars on the list have been a little bit big for you, then I suggest the Fiat 500 Abarth. This car follows a simple recipe of matching a decent amount of power with an extremely lightweight design. Sure, it's not going to be the quickest car in a straight line, but as soon as you get to a few corners, you're going to be leaving the rest of the field far behind you. Not only that, but you get a surprisingly good sound from its little 1.4 turbocharged engine, and if you put an aftermarket exhaust on it, it can be even better. Squeezing just into our budget is the Honda Integra Type R. It may be front wheel drive, but it is often described as the best handling front wheel drive car out at the moment. It may only have a 1.8 litre N8 engine, but somehow Honda has managed to squeeze 188 horsepower out of this little 4-cylinder. You also get a very raw experience when driving it. The interior is basic, it doesn't have a whole bunch of electronics keeping it in control, it's just you and the car. And I think that there's a lot to be said for that kind of driving experience. Rounding off our list, we have the Mercedes SLK 350. In lots of ways this car is very similar to the Nissan 350Z. It has a 3.5 litre V6 engine, it has that classic coupe shape, except this has a folding hardtop. It means you get those beautiful coupe lines, except when the sun is shining you can drop that hardtop at the press of a button and feel the wind in your hair. And best of all, this is still a Mercedes from 2004-2005, so you get an extremely nice interior, you get nice leather, you get a decent amount of equipment for a car of this age. And let's be honest, this car does look gorgeous, especially if you can find it in red. So there you have it. This is our list of 10 performance cars that we think you should consider. Of course, this list does not cover everything, and there are lots of cars that we've missed out that are extremely good and that you should probably consider as well. However, these are just our top picks. As always, don't forget to comment, rate and subscribe, and I hope you've enjoyed watching this video.